Okay, good afternoon officially. Thanks for being here. I'm going to go ahead and dive in to be respectful of everyone's time, and I'm sure folks will trickle in as we get started here. So, welcome to the Ronan-North Virtual Open House. My name is Becca McLean. I am filling in today for a colleague as the communications contact for the project. My colleague Sloane's contact information will be at the end of this little presentation. Thank you so much for being here on this Thursday. We have just a brief presentation and then a Q&A at the end that I'll touch on in a moment. With me on the call today are Bob Bozen, the Missoula District Administrator for the Montana Department of Transportation, Daryl Williams, the Missoula District Operations Construction Engineer for MDT, John Schmidt, the Missoula District Construction Engineer, also with MDT, Jason Livingston, a project manager with MDT, and Russ Gobb with Riverside Contracting. So all this to say, we have a handful of project team members on the call here to address any questions and concerns about the project. Also on the call is my colleague Katie, who will be helping facilitate the Q&A session at the end of this presentation. If you have questions anytime during the presentation, you're more than welcome to write those in the Q&A box at the bottom of the Zoom screen, and we can address it at the end. Or you can certainly wait until the end and put it in the Q&A box. Whatever works best for you is great. A brief little overview of what we're going to chat through in today's presentation, an overview of the Ronan-North and Round Butte Road path projects, then outlining the plans for construction and ending with a Q&A at the end as mentioned. So with that, I want to pass it to John, who will present an overview of the Ronan-North project. John?
Thank you, Becca. Good afternoon, everyone. As Becca said, I'm John Schmidt, the District Construction Engineer here in the Missoula District. And thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us for this virtual open house. The Ronan-North project, as you can see on the screen here, starts at the US Highway 93 and Round Butte Road intersection and extends north for approximately 2 miles. The improvements planned for US 93 throughout this project include widening the highway to 4 lanes, 2 lanes in each direction, installing a new traffic signal at the old US 93 and 3rd Avenue intersection, permanent closure of Spring Creek Road at US 93, construction of a new shared use path connecting Round Butte Road with the existing path along US 93, and construction of a short 600-foot 2-lane segment on 1st Avenue starting at Round Butte Road in preparation for the construction of the Ronan Urban Project. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Daryl Williams, who's going to talk a little bit about the Round Butte Road path.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Daryl Williams, the Missoula District Construction Operations Engineer. In conjunction with the Ronan-North construction, there will be another project which we call the Round Butte Road path that will also begin in 2023. This project includes constructing 2 new sections of sidewalk on the north side of Round Butte Road. And one section is approximately 195 lineal feet of 5-foot sidewalk connecting the existing sidewalk on the east side of Ronan Middle School to the new Ronan-North multi-use path, and that is the yellow section you can see labeled as section 1. The second section is approximately 3,200 lineal feet of 6-foot wide sidewalk from 3rd Avenue Northwest to the existing multi-use path that ends west of the railroad tracks on Round Butte Road, and you can see that section as labeled section 2 on the screen. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to John Schmidt, and he's going to talk about what construction activities can be expected this fall and leading into next year. Thank you.
Thanks, Daryl. So construction activity this fall is largely dependent on the weather. In preparation for construction in 2023, Riverside Contracting, the prime contractor for the project, We'll begin clearing the surface and underground vegetative materials along the road, including grass, trees, roots, and topsoil. If weather permits, crews will also be trying to install the 54-inch irrigation pipe, and we'll likely begin some earth moving operations at the north end of the project. Most of the work will occur adjacent to the roadway. However, traffic control will be on site, speed limits will be reduced, and shoulder closures will be in place within the construction zone. Brief single lane road closures may be periodically required. When crews return in 2023, construction will occur in generally 3 phases. In the spring, work will begin on the west half of the road or southbound lanes and include widening the road, installing a drainage pipe and storm drain, and gravel placement operations. This work will be repeated on the east half of the road or the northbound lanes. In phase 3, the project will be paved, and then striping and other finishing work will occur. Drivers will remain on the paved highway during phase 1, move to the 2 new west side lanes in phase 2, at which time begin traveling on gravel surface. Drivers should plan for delays when traveling through the project site. Traffic control will be in place, speeds will be reduced, and a motorcycle advisory will be in effect. And I'm going to give it back to Daryl to talk a little bit about project schedule.
All right, thank you, John. As you can see, the slide outlines a tentative construction schedule, including the holidays when crews will not be working. Please keep in mind that weather and unforeseen circumstances may affect this schedule, so just tentative for now. Regardless, MDT and Riverside Contracting will do everything possible to finish this project quickly and efficiently. With that said, I would now like to turn it over to the District 1 District Administrator, Bob Vosen, and he will talk a little bit about MDT's Vision Zero initiative.
Thanks. Oh, excuse me. Thanks, Daryl, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for taking time to join us. Just briefly wanted to cover Vision Zero and improving the safety of US Highway 93 along with all the other thousands of miles of state roads and highways in Montana is a vital component to Vision Zero. And Vision Zero is an ongoing statewide collaboration among agencies and organizations and striving to the goal of 0 deaths and 0 serious injuries on Montana's roadways, a very lofty goal. We want to thank all of you for doing your part to help MDT on this mission by driving safely and responsibly on Montana's roadways. And I just want to point out the top bullet, the education bullet shown on your screen right now. A key point in that is the safe behaviors that we need drivers to follow. Wear your seat belts, don't drive while impaired, don't drive while distracted. Distracted driving is especially troubling behavior that we see, and it's growing in Montana. So I encourage all of you to put a driving app on your phone, something that stops it from being able to be used, as texting and driving is such a hazard we're seeing. And I especially encourage you to put that on the phones of our younger drivers. As noted with our Vision Zero goal, we have a number of projects along US Highway 93. And here's a map on the screen that shows all the different descriptions. And we know that all of you care about this corridor, travel it often. So we've created one web page with the resources to direct you to all of this information. So you can scan the QR code, take a picture of it so you have it for future. But this will take you to a link where there's one location that you can access information about all of the different projects you see on your screen right now. Another option is at the end of the slide when we present, or the end of the presentation, Sloan's contact information will be there. She's a great contact to reach out to, and she can help you to with any questions you have. So at this point, I will turn it back over to Becca and she can share some more ways to stay in the know with us.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. This is Becca. Thank you all for listening to that brief presentation. As mentioned, here is contact information for my colleague, the communications manager on the project, Sloan. Her email is at the top, as well as a phone number, a way to receive text updates, and a project webpage specific to this work that will be updated regularly as construction begins. So if you have questions after this, feel free to reach out to Sloan, and she's happy to direct you to the right person if she can't answer it herself. With that, thank you so much. I will pause on this screen for folks to write down this information if you need it. Please feel free to put a question, feedback, piece of comment or information that you have in the Q&A box in your Zoom screen if you have one. And the project team would love to chat through those questions and concerns for the rest of the meeting. So with that, Katie, do you see any questions in the Q&A box at this point?
Thanks, Becca, and the rest of the team. I don't. So folks on the line, if you do have a question or something that you would like our team to go back through, please add that into that Q&A section. As Becca had said at the beginning of our presentation, it looks like 2 chat bubbles, and we'll be able to respond to them in a timely manner while we have everybody on the line. And until then, Becca, I think maybe we'll just hang out for a few minutes and see. Otherwise, I might just turn it back over to you.
Yep, sounds great. Again, the project team is here to address any questions and concerns. So we will just hang out for a few minutes and see if folks have questions. Again, feel free to type away and we are happy to chat through them. We'll just hang out for a few minutes for folks to think through.
Hey, Becca, this is Bob, and I just real quick, one comment that I heard a lot last night, or one question was, when do we anticipate to getting started with this project? And so I guess I'll kind of kick that back over to either Russ or John to maybe give us the latest update with the current weather conditions and supplies. When do we think we're going to actually start breaking ground and work going on with the project?
I'll field that, Bob. This is Russ at Riverside. Our plan is the week of November 7th, probably to get in there and start clearing some trees out and move a little bit of topsoil. And once we do that, we'll take a look at and see how the weather is and see if we'll proceed with maybe building some fills. There's a settlement area that we have to sit for 45 days right near Baptiste Road. So we'll probably work on that for sure. And at that point, we'll decide how much further we're going to go based upon how the weather is. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Russ.
Thanks, Russ. Great question, Bob. Another one that I'm seeing too, kind of along the same lines that we definitely heard last night. John, I'll throw this over to you first, and then obviously feel free to share with anybody else for additional context. But we're hearing from folks that this project's great, and they're also curious to know what the future projects are going to look like. So John, questions are, what's the schedule for highway improvement south of Ronan or an ETA on things south of Round Butte Road?
Those are really good questions. So right now, we don't have the project south of Round Butte Road, including south of Ronan, programmed in our 5-year budget. So I do know that CSKT is working on some grant opportunities to do some of the work around 9 pipes. But right now, MDT doesn't have a schedule or a timeline, other than we don't have money to do either of the projects at this point. So they are in development, but no construction plan.
Thank you, John. Those are the 2 questions that I am currently seeing that I think we've been able to address, but certainly if anybody needs any follow-up or additional information, feel free to add that back into the Q&A and we can revisit. Otherwise, just double checking on all of our fronts. I'm not seeing any additional questions.
Thanks, Katie. We will sit tight again if anyone else has a follow-up question or concern.
Katie, this is Bob again, and just another comment that I heard several times last night was a question about the speed limits in the area. And I just wanted to let everyone know there's no, at this point, when the project's complete, the locations of the speed limit signs generally will remain the same, as will the speed limits through the project. So there will be no changes to the speed limits when the project's complete.
Great, thanks, Bob. I appreciate that additional context. Excuse me. Next, we have a question from Kelly. So assuming a plan is realized, can somebody give their best estimate on how long the project south of Round Butte Road might take? John, I'll turn that over to you first.
You bet. So I guess, you know, if we assume that in the next year, money came out of nowhere, it would be probably 2 years before we could start actually doing construction. Beyond that, it's between 5 and 10 years, because like I said, at this point, we don't have money in our budget to do it. Construction wise, we are developing plans and trying to make plans to do the work, but just not enough money. So I don't know, Bob, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'll add a little bit, John. You know, MDT, we recognize there's a desire to complete the entirety of the corridor. We've got the stretch all the way from after this project from Round Butte Road traveling south down to the north end of St. Ignatius. And we've got multiple projects. Maybe Becca, if I could get you, I think you're driving to back up a couple slides. There we go. That shows all of the different projects we have in the works in the area. Post Creek Hills called out. There's a stretch in the middle where the purple star is. That's a Red Eagle Pass Trail. That's a little safety project where we'll be putting in a left turn lane for southbound traffic to turn onto Eagle Pass Trail. That's also in the middle of the Nine Pipes project. And then moving north from there, there's some dashed areas from Brook Lane north to Round Butte Road. That's the south end of the Ronan urban project. The original project went from Brook Lane to north of Spring Creek Road, where this project ends. We've split it into 2 projects, and there's a pretty strong likelihood we'll end up splitting this actually into 2 more. With the remainder will get split into 2 parts: the urban part through town, and then the rural part from Brook Lane north to kind of develop the couplet. But as John said, the funding is very challenging. There's also some challenges in the Ronan urban part through the town of Ronan, where we have to be working very closely with the city to make sure that their infrastructure is able to be updated at the same time. What I mean by that is that there's water and sanitary sewer lines that are very dated to go underneath the road. That stretch in Ronan urban is going to be a couplet system. Northbound will stay where Highway 93 is. Southbound will be on First Avenue West. But we don't want to build a new road over top of a very aged infrastructure in that water and sewer line. So we need to make sure that we can get all of that work done. Either the utility work underlying the road first, and then we rebuild the road on top, or do it in conjunction with each other. So that's another challenging component, is not only MDT's funding, but the city of Ronan's funding to be able to take on those additional utilities under the roadway. So long-term schedule, as John has said, it's outside of our 5-year planning window. The whole corridor is a priority. We've got, as John also said, we've got some grant opportunities that we're going to work on. We've submitted one already, or CSKT has already submitted one for the Post Creek and a portion of the Nine Pipes project. But we'll be continuing to look for these additional grants and funding opportunities to help us complete the corridor.
Thanks, Bob. I think that's immensely helpful, a lot of good context. But Kelly, if you have additional questions, or anybody else on the line, feel free to let us know. Again, Becca, that is the last question that I'm seeing.
Sounds good. Thanks, everyone, Bob and Katie. And another note, if anyone wants to go back to a certain slide, I'm happy to do that as well if you want to take a look at of certain images.
Hey, Katie, Becca, I see that we've got a chat comment out there as well from Joe. And he
Oh,
asked,
thank you.
do you have any information on any sewer improvements for connections to the east side of Ronan that may be in the right of way of this project? And I am going to say that I'm not aware of any sewer improvements within the right of way in this on this project. But I'm going to turn it to John and Jason and Russ that have more of the details on that potentially.
Thanks, Bob. Jason, just to confirm, we're not doing any sanitary sewer work, correct?
No, there's no upgrade in any sanitary sewer on this project.
Thank you. And then beyond that, I don't know if the city has any plans. That would be a question for City of Ronan.
Thanks, everyone. And thanks, Bob, for bringing that to me. I didn't see the chat, so I appreciate that. But looking at both the chat and the Q&A, it looks like we have addressed the questions that are at least in the queue.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks, everyone. Great questions so far. Again, we will hang out for a few minutes. If anyone has other comments, questions, requests to look at something on the slide deck, please feel free and we will sit tight for a few more minutes.
Hey, Becca, if you would go to the final slide again, I just want to encourage everyone to sign up for, if you text, the text updates are great. I get a lot of them as I'm signed up for, I think, all of our projects. It just helps me to kind of keep things straight in my mind with all the work going on, but I strongly encourage people to utilize that service. And then also the project webpage will be updated regularly as well. And if you're kind of old school and you want to make a phone call, that 207-4484 number is a great number. Somebody on there will be able to either answer your question or make sure that they get the question to the right person to be able to provide an answer.
Thanks, Bob. Agreed with everything you said. Yeah, feel free to reach out to these resources and we are happy to help support as the project goes into construction. Thanks, everyone. Again, we will sit tight if there are other chats or questions for the project team. Thanks, everyone. Katie, are you seeing anything else on your end that the team should chat through?
I'm not.
Well, thanks, everyone, for your time this afternoon. Again, maybe we'll hang out for another minute or two just to make sure there aren't any final questions, but this is the end of the scheduled presentation and Q&A session for the Ronan-North Virtual Open House. So thank you so much again for your time. We appreciate the great conversation and questions. And if you have any follow-ups or think of something after this meeting, you're welcome to email Sloan listed on the webpage here. Again, we will hang out on the call for just a few more minutes and then I will close us out when that time has come. So thanks again for being here.
Thanks, Becca. We did have a question. Somebody had asked for additional clarification more regarding the traffic control plan. So John, again, I'll start with you, and then if we need to add anything more, feel free. But somebody has asked if traffic will be diverted down First Avenue until the Ronan urban project is done. and asking if that is correct. So could you talk through that a little bit for us, John?
Right, yeah, so essentially until we finish the couplet, as in reconstruction of First Avenue West and where US 93 is currently through town, until we finish that work, sometime in the future, traffic will stay where it's at. The small spur we're gonna build won't be really used to divert US 93 traffic. So US 93 is gonna stay where it's at through town until we build that section of First Avenue West.
Thanks, John. Great question. We heard that last night as well, so I'm glad we could further clarify that for the few folks that are still on the line. But otherwise, as Becca had said, feel free to add any questions. We'll stay on the line for a couple more minutes, and then if you don't have anything else, feel free to jump off. And if anything comes up between now and the end of the projects, the contact information that's currently on the screen is going to be your best bet. We're happy to help answer any questions or get you the information that you're looking for.
Thanks, everyone. Again, appreciate your time on this Thursday afternoon. We will go ahead and sign off. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for being here.